So we started last week speaking about a subject that I titled The Creative Power of Words. And I want to continue with that this morning. The creative power of words. Colton and Carter love to play football together. And the thing is, when they were younger, they used to play flag football just amongst themselves. But as they've got older, nobody wants to play flag football anymore. We want to play tackle football. Well, tackle football, especially when you don't have any protective gear, always comes with issues and problems and challenges and cuts and scrapes and bruises and tears. It just happens. And they love playing the sport. But in some ways, it seems as though everything is skewed against Carter. He's 18 months younger than Colton. So he's younger, and he's shorter, and he's not as strong, and he's not as fast. But because they only have two of them in the game, one has to go one side and the other goes the other side. And the two of them play, and they do this all the time, and they have great fun. But invariably, somewhere along the game, you're going to hear the words, "It's not fair. He's cheating." Somebody's going to be crying, and it's probably going to be Carter. But he ends up in a situation all too often where he may tackle, he puts in his best effort, and every now and again he might actually score a touchdown. But the thing about it is, he always ends up losing the game. No matter how hard he tries, no matter how hard he plays, he never seems to win. And he gets so frustrated. It's almost as though he's playing against an opposition who is so much more qualified than him. And no matter what he does and no matter how many inputs he puts into the thing, he still never seems to be able to win. And he gets so frustrated. He wants to play the game, he wants to participate, he wants to win, but he never does. And he ends up frustrated in the situation that he finds himself. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, that's like so many of us in life. So many of us have challenges in life, and we fight against those things, and we fight against those same challenges on an ongoing basis. And it seems as though no matter what we do, no matter how we try and tackle those situations, we never seem to win. We never seem to get to the stage where we actually at a place where we're overcome and we're victorious. They seem to be issues that drag on in our lives in one form or another. And we find ourselves in a place where we're frustrated because we can't get the victory that we're looking for. Nobody wakes up and nobody dreams of living a life of mediocrity. Nobody wants to live a life that's mediocre. Everybody is holding out and everybody's believing for something good. Everybody wants something good in their life. It doesn't matter whether it's in the area of their vocation. It doesn't matter if it's in their marriage. It doesn't matter if it's in their relationship or their friendships. It doesn't matter if it's in their finances, whether it's physically, whatever it is. Everybody wants to be in a situation where they have a look at life and they want something more from life. They're looking for something to add to their life that'll make it better. And yet, although that's the case and people dream about those kind of things, we have so many people who seem to have resigned themselves to a lifestyle of mediocrity. We've adjusted the way that we live and we've adjusted the way that we engage in life because we've learned to live with the status quo. We've adjusted the things in our life because we can live there comfortably. If we want to move in any area of life from where you are to a better place, it's going to place a demand on you. If you want to move somewhere in your life, if you want to improve your relationship, if you want to be a person who gets out there and is more successful in business, it doesn't matter what aspect of life you're looking at. If you want to change an aspect or an avenue of your life, it's going to demand something of you. Because if there's one thing we've come to realize is that success is not accidental. Success doesn't just happen. People don't just wake up in the morning and roll out of bed and go, and there I was, a success. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. The challenge that we have is a lot of people have got to the place where they don't have an appetite to change the things in their life. So they live with what they have, and they've learned to adjust and adapt to the status quo around them. We don't change because we don't really want success. We don't want to pay the price of success. We don't want to get to the place where we move somewhere. We dream about it, we want it, we idealize about it, but we don't actually do anything that's quantitative. We don't do anything in the actions of our life to sit and say, you know what, I'm going to put some impetus behind this, and I'm going to make sure that there are some changes in this area of my life. And so we live with the status quo. And we live and we wallow in a state of mediocrity because nothing changes. If you want to change something in life, you're going to have to get focused. You're going to have to get focused on what it is that you want to change. You want to change your marriage? What are you going to change about your marriage? How are you going to change it? I don't want to be broke anymore. I'm tired of not having any money in the bank. How are you going to change it? Because you're not going to wake up in the morning and success is not going to happen accidentally. There is some initiative that needs to be taken on our part. We need to be able to do something in our life that positions us and puts us in a place where we can begin to realize the success that we're looking for. Why can't you walk into the fullness of what's available to you? Who told you that you can't be successful? Who told you that you can't have a good marriage? Who told you that you can't be healed? Who told you that you're always going to be broke? Who told you that you will never be in a place where you will be an overcomer? Who told you that? There are a lot of voices that talk to us every single day. And we have voices from different places. But you know what is the loudest voice that we listen to? Our circumstances. It's the most credible voice in many people's life. You know why our circumstances are so credible? Because our circumstances in large part are a function of our history. And your circumstances speak to you about the fact that this is a reflection of what you have invested in your life. And if you've taken of yourself and you've made deposits into your life and you have been unsuccessful, what your circumstances say to you is you're not qualified to be successful in this area of life. And we listen to our circumstances. What happens when we listen to our circumstances? We build a belief system around what our circumstances are telling us. Our circumstances are talking to us. Our circumstances are talking about our limitations in life. Your circumstances are telling you about what you can and what you cannot do. But your circumstances are a reflection of your history. Your circumstances are not any indication of your future. Amen. The problem with so many people is that we base our life on the voice of our circumstances. And we listen to our circumstances and we believe what it tells us. And when we believe what it tells us, we act out of that. You will never be thin because your family has always carried weight and you will always carry weight. You've tried so many times to lose weight and it hasn't happened. So I am what I am. I've created a belief system based on what my circumstances are telling me. You tried really hard. You've had entry-level positions, but you've never gone anywhere in life, and you probably will never go anywhere in life because you don't have the capacity to do that. You don't know enough. You're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. You're not educated enough. And so I listen to what my circumstances tell me, and I believe what my circumstances tell me, and I build expectations around what my environment is talking to me about. Proverbs 23, verse 7. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The most sacred place that you have is your heart. You protect your heart. The problem with it is we've got too many believers who have let things into the most sacred place that have defiled it. So the problem with it is we're no longer living out of a place that is sanctified. We're living out of a place that is defiled. We're living out of an area of our life where we're allowing our circumstances to talk to us and tell us about who we are and what we're all about, who it is that we could be, what it is that we can accomplish, what our limitations are. And we believe it because what we're doing is we're listening to the voice and we're building a belief system about it. And as we believe it, as we build a belief system on it, the belief system exists in our heart. As a man believeth in his heart, so is he. When you listen to your world and you listen to your environment, that is who you will be. And we become a self-fulfilling prophecy because we listen to the circumstances that are historically things that we've influenced. We give them credibility and we allow them into our lives. And they form belief systems that we guard and we protect and we look after and we live out of and we speak out of and we perpetuate the cycle, and nothing ever changes in our life. We want God to do something in our life. We want God to take us somewhere. We want God to provide for us. We want God to heal us. We want God to fix our marriage. We want God to mend broken relationships. We want God to change aspects of who we are. And God says, I will do those things, but in order for me to do those things in your world, I need to do them in you. I have to start off with you. The problem with it is that you have created a reality that you're living out of. And as long as you perpetuate the reality that you're living out of, I can't change anything. There is a system and there's a way of operating that has been set in motion. And it is a principle that operates. And you're operating in that same principle, but you're operating instead of in the way that I want to do it, you're operating out of that system in a negative capacity. You're creating beliefs that you're living out of that are negative. And you're acting out of it and you're speaking out of it and you're creating it all the time. All the time. It's coming out of your mouth and you're perpetuating cycles of negativity. The way that God empowers you is that God gives you permission to change. You do not have to stay stuck in those cycles. You do not have to stay stuck in a place where you are limited by your environment and what's happening around you. You do not have to stay in that place. God says, I have something more for you. And I tell you what I want to do is, if you will come into partnership with me, if you will put yourself at a place where you will move into intimacy with me, what I will do is I'll begin to put words into your heart that'll change the very foundation of who you are. And as I can begin to change the foundation of who you are, it'll create opportunity for you to step into a dimension of living that you've never realized beforehand. One of the most important principles to Christianity is that when I became a new creation, all things were passed away and everything became brand new. Why is it important? Because at a very practical level, the way that you used to live life, the way that you used to engage with life, your belief system, all of those things, we need to recognize what aspects of who we are and our identity and our persona and our reality has become formed as a result of the old man. And what part of that stuff we need to let go of so that we can start to embrace new belief systems. We need to go out there and we need to go and clean out the most sacred part. We need to have a fresh clean out of the heart. where we get rid of those belief systems that defile our most sacred place. God loves you too much to leave you where you are. And that's why He's created opportunity for you to step into something more. That's what He wants to do with you. He wants you to step into the fullness of life that He's already provided for you. Everything has already been done. But we need to begin to recognize, how is it that we begin to walk into the fullness of life that He's provided for us? Mark chapter 11, verse 23. Everybody knows it. For verily I say unto you, that whosoever shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things which he saith shall come to pass, he shall have whatsoever he saith. There is a principle at play here. It's a principle for living. God is telling you there is a principle in operation. What you believe in your heart and what you confess out of your mouth is going to come to pass. That's the principle. We read it in the Bible and we think that only applies to spiritual things and godly things. It doesn't. It doesn't say that. It says what you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth. You want to believe things in your heart that have been deposited there as a result of what your circumstances in your life is telling you. And those things have taken root in your life. And because you're in agreement with those, you speak that stuff out of your mouth. What are you doing when you believe in your heart and you confess with your mouth? You're bringing things into existence. Amen. That's the principle for creativity. How did God create the world? He conceived what it is that He wanted and He spoke it out of His mouth. That principle has never changed since the beginning of creation. If you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, what are you believing in your heart? The problem with it is when we have something called a belief system that's been formed as a result of something outside of God, it is filled with negativity. It is filled with unbelief in what God has got available for us. It is usually fear-based. And so what do? We begin to confess those things. And they continue to perpetuate themselves. And we don't understand why. And in some very warped way, we affirm the fact that I knew this was going to happen anyway. Yes, it's going to happen because you believed it and you confessed it. Have you ever noticed that principle is in operation with people, whether they be unbelievers or whether they be Christians, in a natural context? Nobody has a problem with the principle of believing and confessing. I don't believe I'm smart. They'll tell you that. I don't believe I'm pretty. I don't believe I'm capable of doing that. I am not patient. People don't have any problem with it. People will tell you freely what it is that they believe in their heart out of their mouth. People never have a challenge with it. Should I tell you when the challenge comes? The challenge comes when you say, well, let's take that same principle and let's put it in the context of faith. All of a sudden, people have a difficulty with it. Why do they have a difficulty? Because the truth that they're speaking is incongruent with their situation. And all of a sudden, I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't feel comfortable with it because I feel as though I'm confessing something that is the antithesis to the reality of what I'm living. We have no problem with the principle outside of faith, but you bring it within a faith context and all of a sudden people wobble. But it's the same principle for creativity. It's the principle for creativity. Romans 10:10. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. With the heart man believes unto righteousness, with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. What you believe and what you say. With the heart man believes unto righteousness. What is righteousness? In its simplest terms, righteousness has its root word in the word right. What is right? God is the ultimate expression of what is right, what is true. Righteousness is an expression of what is right. What he's saying here is, if you can get your heart, if you can take that place where you have beliefs, and you can take that belief system and you can marry it to what is right, and you can confess what is right out of your mouth, you will have it. And what he's saying is, that's the principle on which the kingdom operates. What God is saying is, I don't want you to be who you were. The invitation is, I want to change your life, but you have to listen to how it is that I want to change it. I want to show you a reality that becomes so real to you. I want to show you a truth that becomes so apparent to you that it becomes something that you begin to speak out of. It's something that you begin to act out of. It becomes something that you begin to live out of. Where does he do that? The kingdom of God is within you. It's in your heart. What he wants to do is, he wants to create within you a heart reality. He wants to create within you a world that is based on what is right, what is true within you. And once he has created that within you, he wants it to be so solid and so established within you that it doesn't matter what's happening around about you, because I understand the fact that truth is established in me. And this truth, or this belief, I'm now going to take the words of my mouth and I'm going to confess living words. Words that express the belief that's within me. Amen. It doesn't matter what's happening out here. It's irrelevant what's happening out here, because my words are based on my belief. And my belief is based on his truth. It's just not based on my circumstance anymore. And when I speak words that are based on truth, I confess words that are based on truth. And do you know what the amazing thing is about it? Those words are going to be incongruent with your situation. Because your situation is going to tell you how sick you are. Your situation is going to tell you how poor you are. Your situation is going to tell you how incapable you are, how deficient you are in all the different things that you want to do in life. And God's going to say, it's irrelevant. Don't let it create a belief within you. Look at your heart, and what I want you to realize is within your heart, I'm going to tell you what you can do. Take it and base a belief on the truth I'm giving you within your heart. And speak those words out. Because as you believe and you speak, it'll bring into existence those things which are within you. Faith is courageous. Faith has no problem having a look at the reality that's outside of you. Faith has no problem having a look and sitting saying, yes, fine, you got a temperature. Yes, fine, you got no money in the bank. Yes, fine, you don't have an education. Yes, fine, you came from an underprivileged background. Faith doesn't care about looking at the reality of a situation. It's not moved by that. Why? Because faith lives in the conviction that God will move natural circumstances around to fulfill his promise to you. Amen. That's what he says. So when he speaks to my heart and he speaks words to my heart, he's speaking truth within me. And when he speaks truth within me and I live out of that truth, I'm living in the expectation that what's outside of me is going to be influenced by the words of faith coming out of my mouth. And I live in the expectation of transformation. We call things that be not as though they were. I'm not unaware of them. I'm not burying my head in the sand. But what I am well aware of is that the truth inside of me is more apparent and is much stronger than the circumstances outside of me. And I'm living out of a center point within me that is God-inspired. And that brings about change in my life. He will honor those words to perform it because I got them from him. That's how we move to a place where we practically begin to live kingdom life. The kingdom is within you. How apparent is the kingdom to you? Your prayers are 1% words and 99% faith. Faith is the only active ingredient in your prayers. We have too many Christians praying too many prayers that are faithless. We have no expectation in God to deliver anything. We have no expectation in any circumstances to change. Nothing changes without faith. There is a way that God has designed for the system that we live in to operate. And it's a mirror image of what happens in the kingdom. What you believe in your heart and what you confess with your mouth is going to come to pass. And he uses that same principle in a kingdom context. What you believe in your heart and what you confess with your mouth is going to come to pass. You will never step into your destiny unless you understand and we're able to apply that principle in our lives. Because faith is the power that's able to take the promises and make them a reality. And unless you're able to make the promises a reality in your life, how do you propose ever stepping into what God has provided for you? You will never step into your destiny unless we get to a place where we understand and we become more comfortable operating in the context of believing and speaking and living in the expectation of transformation. That's why God calls us to be heart people. You're to be people who live from the heart. It's not some intangible, airy, fairy, gooey, oh, I just love you. The power for life, the power for transformation, the power for change, the power to step into your destiny is resident in your heart. And unless you can bring that power out of your heart, and unless you're at a place where you can bring change in your circumstances, you will never step into destiny. You will never step into the fullness of what God has available to us. Let a double-minded man never say he'll receive anything from God. You cannot have a belief system that's not really a belief system. It's a quasi-belief system. I kind of know what God wants for me, but look at what's happening around me. What is informing your belief system? What is informing the beliefs of your life? Is it the truth of God or the reality that you experience? Because one of the two of them is going to determine your future. We're comfortable with our realities, but learning to live out a truth isn't always natural for us. It's something we step into and we begin to do because we are citizens of the kingdom, and it's a qualification of kingdom life. That's how we move into the fullness of what he has available to us.